Welcome to Distilled Bourbon Podcast. I'm Brent. I'm here as always with my co-hosts Brian and Chuck. Fellas, we are not in the turret today. We are at DSP 10.
A big spacious room, but we're all still nice and tight here, so we feel like we're at home.
The love is in the room. We are here at Green River Distillery, the whiskey without regrets, right? And we're with our very good friend, Caryn with the C. Wells. Caryn, great to see you again.
Thank you. Great to be here with you guys.
Now, you are the national brand ambassador for Green River. Is that right?
I am.
So what does that entail besides hosting three knuckleheads?
Well, this is part of my job. I love it. Basically, it entails taking our brand and introducing it to all the different markets that we're in. So whether it's just simply doing tastings or speaking engagements and talking about our history, I also have a program that I take. It's my road show. I call it the Caryn experience.
Yeah.
So it's a sensory tasting with our products. So I do that as well, and just whatever anybody needs.
Now, if you're a longtime fan of the show, you know that we were here maybe about a year ago or so.
A year and a half, something
and
like
we
that.
had two great episodes out of that visit. We sat down with some folks from here and had a great conversation about the history of this fantastic story that Green River is. And then Caryn took us on one of my favorite tours that we've been on recently. So a lot has changed since the last time we were here.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, we had an acquisition. We got bought by Bardstown Bourbon Company last year. Really excited about it. Bardstown was probably our biggest, if you want to say, competitor from a point of contract distilling, and they were looking to get more, to be able to do more. They came and toured and saw that we were a diamond in the rough, so to speak, and bought us. So we are merged two large producing distilleries together. So combined, we probably are going, this year we'll probably produce close to 250,000 barrels.
Wow.
Yeah.
250,000. I don't need more than 20, 30,000.
Is that it? Is it?
I'm not sure that people realize just what a big distiller Green River is.
Yeah.
Your column still is...
Yeah, we have a 54-inch column still that's 4 stories tall.
It is a monster.
It is a monster.
So there is a lot of product that comes through here, only a portion of which are your proprietary brands, but you're a big producer.
Yeah, we are. We enjoy doing some contract distilling for people, but right now our main goal is Green River, and we're very proud of it. With our acquisition from Bardstown, we are able to expand our markets. So where we were currently or previously distributed in 4 markets, we are now going into 21 more markets this year. So, and we have the capacity, we have plenty of product, and we're really excited about it.
So Midwest, Southeast, Northeast,
and West Coast.
and West Coast.
Yep. So we'll go as far as California, down to Texas and Florida, up to Michigan, Wisconsin, and then the East Coast as well.
Big markets.
Big markets.
Fantastic.
So the first of this month, there's a big release here at Green River Distillery. Could you tell us a little bit about what was released?
Yeah, sure. So when we first launched, our flagship was our Green River bourbon, which is a mash bill of 70 corn, 21 rye, 9 malt. And this past month, we released our wheated bourbon. So it's 70 corn, 21 wheat.
Mirror image.
Wow.
Mirror image, 9 malt. So yeah, I always like to tell people when you're making bourbon, you always start with corn, and then you kind of come to a fork in the road, and you either go wheat and sweet or you go rye and dry. And we went rye and dry first, and now we're coming out with our wheat and sweet.
So would 21% rye be considered a high rye?
Yeah, it was when we started.
Maybe at the lower level of a high rye?
Yeah, well, it was when we started. Traditionally, it used to be between 15 and 18%. So 21 would have been considered high.
Okay.
But nowadays we're seeing 22, 25, 28, 36. So now we're on that. Yeah, you can say 21's on that mid-range high. Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
listen, the original that came out was fantastic. It's one of my favorite that I always keep on the shelf. It's one of those Christmas gifts that I give away to everybody.
Yeah.
And so I'm anxious to learn more about the wheated.
Yeah, and the Green River came in an award-winning bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fantastic bottle.
absolutely. Yeah,
With the,
it's with the horseshoe on the bottom. Yep. That's part of the original logo. I think we talked about that probably in our previous podcast, but that's part of the original logo. It was, we wanted to honor the history of the brand because it was so iconic. So putting that bottle in the shape of a horseshoe is something that you don't see anymore. We have very traditional bottles for the most part.
Right.
So I think having that really makes it stand out a lot.
Why don't you remind us how old Green River, or when Green River was first created?
Sure, it started in 1885. 1885, so it's like 138 years in the
Chuck,
making to
that's
get
older
this
than
back
you.
out. Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, so it's 1885, most widely advertised whiskey in the world back then. I think probably my favorite fact about Green River is the fact that for over 18 years, Green River was the official whiskey of the United States Marine Hospital.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
you know, when I say Marine Hospital, it actually included the public health systems and the U.S. embassies, which just blows your mind, but it was
Right.
all medicinal back then, right? That's why it was the
Exactly.
whiskey without a headache. Yeah, whiskey without a headache.
Yeah,
So.
I love your all two slogans. One of them, the first one was a whiskey without a headache.
Yep.
And then I guess maybe some Marine surgeon said, I'm not sure you can prove that, so you all became...
The whiskey without regrets.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
the
love
whiskey
it.
without regrets.
And it
yeah.
appears on one of the rick houses here on the campus. It's just so cool.
Yes.
Talking about this campus, we said this coming in, driving in today. What a beautiful campus to pull into.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're 26 acres. Back in the day, we would have been in a line of distilleries because the Ohio River is right behind us. But as the distilleries went away with Prohibition, it became neighborhoods. And so now we basically sit, in a neighborhood. But believe it or not, we have one man that takes care of our property now. Has a little crew with him, and he does all of our landscaping. And Jimmy is just he's a genius.
And this property was vacant for some time.
25 years. 25 years when we came into it, so a lot of roof damage that we had to contend with, rebuilding stuff, but most of the buildings from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I always like to say it's the marriage of Bardstown buying us. It's the best of both worlds, because in Bardstown we have state-of-the-art Napa Valley, brand spanking new everything, but then you come to our campus and you get to walk back in the history.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really it's mesmerizing, because you can see how we can be so modern and produce great liquid there, and then you come here and we're still producing great liquid, but you get that whole historic feel.
New bosses, new whiskeys, but same great story, just a continuation of what's happened in the past.
Yep.
And you can see all of that here, and that's one of the reasons why I love this distillery so much. But
I love they're not brick rick houses, they are...
Clay tile.
Clay tile.
They're clay tile rick houses.
Very cool.
Yeah, industrial clay tile. So they're really quite wide, and they've got these air pockets in them. So they're really good insulators. So we're coming into summer, so they're going to start getting a little warm, a little toasty in there. But in the wintertime, they're really cold, and it's a beautiful. You can really see how those are going to affect the aging of the whiskey, because it's going to push it in and pull it out.
And you talked about the roof damage. When you go into the still house here, there's a big picture of what the still house looked like.
The fermentation room. Yep, one of our fermentation rooms. Yeah, there was we literally replaced everything but the four walls in that particular room.
From those pictures, it looked like that building was a goner.
Yeah, you would have thought. I think when you got here in 2014, you really had to understand that the bones were good, and you really had to have a good vision, because to the average person walking in, they would go, "Yeah, there's no way. There's no way we could do that."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
well, that's awesome.
But you did it.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. Stronger than ever, too. So that's a
cool.
good thing.
So one more thing I want to bring up before, I've got this bourbon sitting here right in front of me that I want to taste.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
tantalizing,
Yeah, I know,
isn't it?
it's-
It's tantalizing.
it's wafting.
It is.
But you are not one to brag on yourself.
No.
And you're going to hate that I brought this up.
Okay.
But you have become known in the Commonwealth of Kentucky as one of the leading women in bourbon. And you've been on panels, you're a guest speaker all the time. I just think that's so cool. Tell me what it means to you to be a woman in the bourbon business, and has it been difficult? Has it been beneficial? Do you not even pay attention to it?
Wow. Very humbled. Thank you. Those are very kind words. I feel very fortunate. I happened into this, and I love American history, and I love the fact that bourbon is a part of American history as well as Kentucky, and it's humbling. I have not had a problem from a female standpoint. I think, if anything, for you to compare me with some of the best women in this industry is very humbling, because I don't have half of the knowledge that they have, but I do have the passion, and I enjoy it. I want people to understand that bourbon has a place, and we don't have to, whether you enjoy bourbon or not, I want you to understand the history and the time and the hard work that went into making the spirit what it is and where it came from.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you.
History of bourbon is fantastic.
It is. Not only is it fantastic, but it has involved so many different facets. You know, a lot of times people see bourbon as just being an alcohol, and it's not. If we didn't make bourbon, farmers wouldn't be making corn, and the hotels wouldn't have people, and the restaurants wouldn't have people, and the farmers wouldn't also be getting feed for their cattle.
Right. It saved the American economy more than once in our history.
Not only from a standpoint of production in that aspect, but during the war, it was the bourbon industries that turned to start making the ethanol for the military.
Right.
So it was, you know, there's so many different facets.
And then COVID happened. And then
COVID happened, and we were all making sanitizer. Right. So yeah, thank goodness we didn't have to drink it.
We had the best smelling hands.
We did.
We love history, and these bourbons are about to be history. So what do we have?
Yeah. So let's take a look at these. So the first one that we have, we'll go on the left. You can't go with the high proof first. So the first one that we have is our wheated bourbon. So this is our wheated bourbon. It's 70 corn again, 21% rye, 9% malt. All of our products are non-chill filtered, both here and at BBC. So we enjoy the flavors of them. Yeah, it's really
nice sweet nose.
It's very sweet nose. I say it has some stone fruit aromas on it, like apricot.
Boy, this is a nice one to prime the mouth with.
It is very smooth. What I have found as I've been drinking this and enjoying it with people is that even the first sip surprises them. Yeah. Because we're still drinking, this is 90 proof. So even when you're drinking 90 proof alcohol, you expect it to have a little bit of a shock to your palate.
Right.
And I don't find it with this at all.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm experienced there.
Somewhere along the way, someone suggested that if you're doing tasting neat whiskey, take just a little sip at first and work it around your mouth a little bit, because your mouth's about to be surprised. It knows this, but it wasn't thinking about it. So just kind of get it acclimated. And then really go in for the taste.
And then go back in for it. Yeah. And I do that. I always tell people, never judge a bourbon by the first sip. I say 2 and preferably 3. You know, to fully get the flavors of what's going on, and also to, you know, we nose it at first, but once our sensors are all awake, we want to also go back and nose it, because then you're going to pick up even more things, you know, as well. But this is really, yeah, the stone fruit almost even has like a honey flavor and a nuttiness, you know, to it. I mean, I can really pick that up as well.
So this wheated followed your rye release.
Yeah.
Was it made? Did you all start making the wheated after you made the rye?
Yeah, absolutely. The rye mash bill was the first one that we started with, and with the production on it, and then said, well, let's try some of the rye. Let's keep everything the same, and just switch the grain and see what we get.
Happens,
Let's ask our rye guy over here what he thinks of this, because I know a lot of times we talk about, I prefer a wheated, you prefer a rye. I love this. What are your thoughts?
I like it. Caryn and I were just talking about this before you guys got here today. I like it. It's not my thing, though. The rye version is far superior to me. But for entry-level bourbon, like recommending bourbon to somebody, I would highly recommend they start off with this, because it's not as spicy as a rye. Ryes are more in your face, and it takes a little bit more consumption of ryes before you really get to enjoy them.
A little higher tolerance.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. Higher tolerance. Yeah. Typically, we say when we have beginning drinkers, you know, to focus on the wheated, because as I said, wheat is sweet. That's the theory behind it, is that it's sweeter It's not a theory, it's the reality. It's
Yeah.
sweeter than a rye. So, but
Neither of these two are beginners, but that's their preference as well.
yeah.
I've never had bourbon before today.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm going to slide over here just a little bit.
There's a weeded out there that I won't name, but it's so mild as to be unobtrusive. This is a pretty robust whiskey, I think, for a weeded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got it's got a solid coverage on the palate, and I think that's what we want to look for in it. Sometimes we get different whiskeys that they hit us in one spot and then they trail off, and we don't get a full mouthfeel on it. And I think that all of ours, quite frankly, I think they all give a very nice mouthfeel. Very
I agree.
complete.
There's some weededs out there that it's kind of like, is that all there is?
Yeah.
But this is whiskey.
Yeah, this is nice.
You two say it much better than I do, but this one has substance to me,
Yes.
and it's a worthy drink, and I enjoy it.
This is my first on try with it. I like it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's like I said, it's wheat. We've got a lot of brands out there that are wheated, and we wanted to. We really just felt ours was right there with them. That it can hold up on its own. I've had this in cocktails, and it stands up well in a cocktail.
I think it'd be a good cocktail.
I think we use a higher corn content than what most people do, and I just think that mixes well.
Remind me of the corn.
70%.
70. Okay.
70% corn. Yep. So yeah, this is it just keeps getting sweeter too. You really can pick up a honey nose on the end of it. So yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, for not liking it, you kind of hammered it.
Still a great whiskey.
We're not judging.
No.
I find myself, I'm not either a rye guy or a weeded guy. I like this, or I like this, or I like this.
Yeah.
I'm the
I like
same
both.
way, but weeded, the more I have drank bourbon, I've grown away from weeded bourbons. Like Weller 12, for instance, that used to be one of my favorite ones,
Yes.
and now I drink it, and I prefer.
I'm exactly the same. I bought my last bottle of that, I think. For now at least, I'm just not interested in it anymore.
Well, I think our palates change, and they change seasonally too. I would tend to drink more of a weeded bourbon in the summertime because it's sweeter. I want that lighter feel. I would tend. My go-to is always a rye bourbon, but if I think seasonally, I'm going to drink a weeded bourbon more in the summertime and mix it more. And then in the wintertime and fall, I'm going to go towards those rye bourbon or the rye whiskeys.
Rye. Mm-hmm.
And because that's just a seasonal thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that is our weeded bourbon. We wanted to have the label stand out a little different. So you can see on the bottle that this label is a nice, brilliant blue.
Oh yeah.
And it clearly states across the front that it is weeded. So you don't have any, you're not trying to figure out what it is. So we want people to know that this is a weeded bourbon.
I'm glad you brought that up because I would be a little embarrassed if the national brand ambassador said, "Don't call this the blue."
The blue label.
The blue label.
Yeah.
Because I've already started doing that.
Yeah, well, I always tell people, you can clearly see it, but if nothing else, it's got the blue label on it, so it makes it nice.
And that label does note that this is DSP KY 10.
Yeah.
That's an old distillery, friends.
Yes.
It'd probably be second district 10, but still.
Yep.
That is one of the first distilleries.
Yes, and that's why it was so important to get the distillery back up and running. And you may have heard this before, but Owensboro was bigger than Bardstown and Frankfurt and Louisville back in the day.
Yeah.
Pre-Prohibition, there were 22 active distilleries.
That's amazing.
And from a taxing standpoint, I was telling Brian earlier that we paid twice the amount of taxes than any other county in the state of Kentucky.
Is that
That's
right?
how many distilleries we had. So
whiskey taxes was so big for the
Whiskey
federal
taxes.
government back in the day.
yes, they were huge.
As a proud Davis County Panther graduate, I can remember one thing from my Kentucky history, and that was Owensboro was the second largest city in the Commonwealth at one time.
Yeah.
Now it's probably what, fifth or sixth? I'm guessing.
I would say, yeah. Somewhere like
Somebody
that.
will correct me. That's Chuck at distilledbourbonpodcast.com. Just send him those emails.
Pointing any
He'll filter
fingers.
them out, and he'll
Actually, I
he'll
think
let me know.
Lexington would have been the second biggest.
Maybe it was the third. See, I didn't pass that class anyway. All right, what do we have in our second?
So the next one that we have is going to be our flagship, which is what we released last year. This is our Green River Bourbon and it is 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley. And again, all of our bourbons like to sit out, and you can really tell it just picks up a lot of really sweet notes.
You know, this is a great bourbon. I remember when this was released, the whole bourbon industry was shocked that they were releasing this bourbon at $35 MSRP.
Right.
I wanted to get around to that,
When so many new brands are $50+.
Yep.
To be this good at $35.
Well, there's two things. I say there's two things on that. Not only is it's $35 for our flagship and a rye, and typically when you have rye, it's more expensive because rye is a more expensive grain. But when we released the wheated, we kept it exactly the same. We want people to be able to just get it.
It's an amazing price point for whiskeys of this quality.
And that was prior to the acquisition, correct?
That is prior to the acquisition.
Right.
Yeah. So drink it.
This is like an old friend. This is fantastic.
This is, I mean, just sweet notes. That rye, most people get very shocked by the rye because they're expecting to nose this and be shocked on the senses, and it's not.
To me, it's sweeter than the wheater. Mm-hmm. Isn't that weird?
Well, it doesn't have that big pepper kick at the end that you would expect a high rye to.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It's
And
really smooth.
that's good for me.
I describe our flagship as a maple syrup nose on the front, that sweet, that butterscotch caramel toffee nose, but a spice cake finish. It really presents with more the nutmeg allspice kind of finish versus the pepper, which we're used to when we have a rye. Everybody sees rye or thinks rye and they think, oh gosh, that's going to be pepper. It's going to be hot.
And typically when people drink bourbon below 100 proof, they don't think it's very complex, but this is
very complex.
Very complex.
Yeah.
You know,
It has some levels to it.
It does.
Yeah, it's again, it's really well balanced on this. I find the spice for me sits front and mid palate. That's where it, and I get a smooth finish on it. I just enjoy it. I enjoy it neat. But again, it makes a great cocktail.
I have found that I liked it more and more the more I tried it, to the point where it became really a favorite. And I know there's a certain distillery in Kentucky where every morning there's a Facebook page. You see the line to the gift shop, and God bless them. That's great.
Are those $35 a bottle?
They are not. There's so much fantastic whiskey on the market, on the shelf, every day that I just don't pursue these we call them the unicorns. I have. You can either go hunt for it or you could be enjoying it. I'm all about the enjoying it.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think that was the other thing when we were looking at the price point for Green River before we launched it. We don't want people to be afraid of it. We want people to go out and try it, and then once they try it, we want them to go back and buy more. We don't want them to fear the unknown. It's a great bourbon. You can finish the bottle and not feel bad and go out and get another one.
No regrets.
No regrets. That's exactly it.
And no
regrets.
headaches. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
And people come to our store all the time and they look at this beautiful bottle, and I tell them, you're going to buy it the first time for the bottle.
Yeah.
But the second purchase is going to be for the quality of whiskey, that's in the bottle, and it's just been received very well.
It is. Thank you. It's hard. Sometimes, it's hard to convince people, but I always tell people, just try it. Just try it and don't judge. And a lot of times I try to blind people on it because we always have a preconceived notion. Our eyes tell us what we're going to like versus letting our palates do it. And I'll put this up. I'll put either one of them up against some top brands right now. And because my friends like to do that to me all the time. So.
We've done several of those blind tastings, and we've talked about before the blind what we like and what we think is going to be the best. And most of the time, we're surprised every time.
It is.
It can be humbling.
It can be humbling.
It can be humbling. Yeah, I'm a member of the Owensboro Bourbon Society, and I've sat in meetings and listened to people go, "Yep, that's the one I drink every single night," and then they find out it's not, and they're shocked. But when your eyes can't see the label and you let your palate do the judging, it's a big difference.
So you're talking about you think the palate could be seasonal, maybe. You were talking about liking to have a wheated bourbon in the summer because it's
sweeter, it's lighter, and which is when you're in, I think summertime, we're hotter temperatures. We want a lighter drink. We don't want that heaviness. Ryes tend to warm you up. theoretically. So I look to those more in the wintertime. And I think that you can definitely have a seasonal thing.
I find that my palate can change from day to day.
Yeah, it can. Well, what we eat,
Absolutely.
if we take medications, that'll mess it up. And like I've been telling people lately, God forbid we've had COVID, we may not even have a palate, which will really change everything that we've, what we thought we knew.
I was at a cafe near our hometown of Henderson, and for after dinner, I wanted to have a glass of rye, and I was given a rye I'd never had before. Just kind of dimly aware that they even made a rye, and I drank it. And this is the sweetest whiskey I've ever had in my life. I brought it on the show, was determined. I knew I was going to be able to pick out this whiskey. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't sweet at all. That night we're at home having snacks, having a cocktail, and I said, it's sweet again. My wife did point out we were eating something pretty savory at the time, which might have helped, but maybe it's an undisciplined palate that I have here.
We don't judge. It's all good, Chuck. We don't judge.
All right, so we have a third bottle that doesn't look like the other two. What's going on here?
One of these doesn't look like the other,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, so coming this year, we will start our single barrel program. And
It's a working distillery.
yeah, it is a working distillery. Sorry about that, folks. Obviously, somebody didn't get the memo. Yeah, we're going to have a single barrel program is going to start this year. And just, throwing it out there, it's going to be very limited because we have our hands full going into 21 markets as well as getting everything. So it'll be very limited. However, I did bring you guys a sample of what we're going to have. So these will be, single barrels will be like 5 years old. Some of them might be edging towards 6. This is going to come out at 119 proof, so full proof is what we're going to put it out at. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by this.
The nose is so totally different.
It is ridiculously. You can even see the color of it is just got a beautiful, beautiful color to it.
It's like a. All right, so I'm going to get this wrong, but to me it's like a leather.
On the nose?
Yeah, on the nose. You guys tell me the right term.
I get leather and tobacco.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm going to say this. I'd love to throw this in here. A lot of times when people hear we say tobacco, they go, "Why would they say that?" The first scent that we pick up is typically a memory. It's typically a memory that we get. And so for me, if I say I pick up tobacco, well, my family used to grow tobacco. And while I don't smoke, I used to go into the tobacco warehouse and the tobacco barns all the time. And that is an absolute heavenly smell.
It's a nice aroma.
It is a beautiful
Second only
aroma.
to going into a
rick house. That's right. Yeah. So when we say tobacco, that's what we're picking up a memory.
Right.
Is what we usually pick up.
It's not smoke, it's the plant itself.
It's the plant itself.
And it's a very fragrant plant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, please. Thank you.
Isn't that ridiculous?
That is great.
It is soft. It is well balanced.
Yeah.
The flavors just
Complex.
work around.
Yeah, at 119. You said this is 119?
Yeah, what we're drinking today is actually 122.
It's not punching you in the face. though.
It is not punching you in the face. Do you know how many people have never tasted bourbon before? When I taste them on this, and they don't drink bourbon, they're like, "My goodness, that's really flavorful."
How about that? Well, it is.
And at and so we're looking at 119, 122 is right in that range. It's not, I thought I'm not going to proof it down for you guys. So I think it's just so full of flavor.
Wow.
So, and here's the best part. What do you think a typical single barrel at 119 proof should cost?
I've paid 125 for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just paid 99.
Say 60 to 90 is average.
Yeah, so our single barrel will retail at $59.99.
That's on the low end of most single barrels.
Yeah, that's what, again, we want people
And
to
throughout
drink
that
it.
whole distribution chain.
Yeah,
Not just single barrel, but it's a pick.
it's a pick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pick.
So individual retailers will be
Individual retailers, our on-premise accounts, they'll be able to do that. And again, we're going to be really limited this year. So stay patient. Next year we'll obviously add more, and then the floodgates will open.
So
I
will you?
don't know about you, but I sure hope Beverage Barn does a pick of some sort.
I've been buying a lot, so hopefully if so, you guys will definitely be invited. So are you going to have distillery picks here at the distillery?
Yeah, so we do. We have our single barrel program is almost up and running. We'll actually start May 1st. Believe it or not, I haven't said anything to you guys before, but I'm actually the single barrel oversight.
I was going to
So,
say.
yeah, so we have
My friend Caryn with the city.
we have
I'm so happy.
We have two young men at each distillery that are running the programs there, and then I just kind of oversee everything and make sure that everything's good to go for
Also,
them.
Bardstown is doing one as well.
Bardstown's doing the same thing.
Okay.
Yep. So we
With their new release that they just
with our Origins release.
Okay.
Yep, on that. So
which
really
they have a bourbon and a rye. Is that correct?
right. Well, no, we have a bourbon our bourbon is a rye. Our Origins is bourbon is a rye based, and then we have our bottled and bond, which is the wheated.
Right.
So yeah.
I know you guys do a lot of charity and goodwill stuff. You're great ambassadors for the bourbon community. So you said this is limited. You have a finite inventory that you're going to be able to do this with.
Year. Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be able to do anything with any of the charities yet, or is that maybe a phase 2 down the road?
That's going to be a phase 2. We would like to, a lot of it depends on how the year goes too.
Sure.
Because as we come into that next year, when we get close to the end of the year and we see where things sit on everything, one thing that we don't want to do is overextend ourselves.
Sure.
And you never want to make promises that you can't keep, because then that just totally mutes the whole point of everything. So baby steps. Baby steps this first year, and then we can expand and broaden. But yeah, whatever, we always like to do charitable things and help different organizations, because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
So bourbon clubs and bourbon societies, are those going to be part of the limited picks that are available?
Not this first year.
Okay.
Not this first year. You're going to see retailers. Those are going to be the ones.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, there it is. and I'm just going to preface this for you. I have no control over that.
Oh,
okay.
right, yeah.
Just so you know, I have no control. That's with
This won't be aired if I don't get it.
Yeah, I got you. This is with our distributors. So we want to make it fair and equitable for everybody, but at the same time, we have to be logical about it too. So, and again, limited this first year. Doors open a little bit more next year, and then they really open up after that. So, and if you think back to our productions, what we've done in years past, we started at 18,000 barrels, then we went to 72,000 barrels, then we went to over 90,000 barrels a year. So it makes sense that we've got to baby step into everything and then let the floodgates open.
Yeah. You guys have been successful to this point, and you've got a great plan for moving forward. It's just fantastic to see that growth continue.
Yeah, thank you. We're really excited. I mean, and I will say this, I'll tease you with this. In 2024, you'll probably see a rye coming out.
You're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me, because I want to talk about the future. Everybody's doing everything. I wanted to ask, will you have a rye?
Yep.
And not just a rye bourbon, but a rye.
A rye whiskey.
So that could happen in 2024.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Do you ever see a bottled and bond product out of Green River?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I can't say that we will 100%, but I mean, the logic is there. All of our warehouses are bonded, so I mean,
you got the product?
We got the product. We got everything. But again, for us this year, first thing for us was we got out into 4 states. And then when we got the acquisition with Bardstown, it's getting all of that merging, fixed and making it run right. And now we're so blessed that because Bardstown was in so many more markets, and we definitely have the product capability for it, that we get to go into those markets too and share the wealth, so to speak. Share the love of Green River, so just baby stepping everything in.
Cool.
And
All right, so there you have it from the Green River Distillery campus here in Owensboro, Kentucky. Caryn with a C, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate it. Man, what amazing bourbon we have here. Love the original Green River. Fantastic wheated product, and holy cow, I can't wait to see what happens with these picks, man. That is some good stuff. Fellas, anything else from you guys?
I'm good to go.
All right.
I want to show you guys one more thing.
Sure.
Can you hand me a bottle?
Sure.
So we know we have the horseshoe,
Right.
right? And when we did this, we didn't know that we created a game. So because there's a slit in there, we have a coin that the coin will actually slide right up underneath the bottle.
Nice.
How do you like that? We had
Perfect.
that was not intended, but it is a result of it. So we've actually brought back our, they're called magic coins. I like to call them bar coins too, but they're technically magic coins. You got Green River on one side and the slogan on the other, the whiskey without regrets.
Love it.
So the story on these is that when they tried to revive the brand back in the 40s and the 50s, they were trying to be very creative. So they called these magic coins. Magicians were very popular back then. So they told the magicians, write in and we'll send you a bag of magic coins, hence free advertising.
Nice.
So when we discovered that we did this with the bottle, we brought the coins back. So
Perfect.
yeah.
And it worked. It
Yeah,
made
and it-
all this bourbon disappear.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
and I don't know if you guys are up for challenges or not, but if you want to accept a challenge, my greatest distance is 10 feet 1 inch.
Whoa. Wow.
Is that challenge accepted? Anybody? Brian,
well,
don't be scared.
Let me test it at home.
Oh,
a
you
few
can test
times.
it. You can test it a few
When
times.
I beat you, I'll send you a
You
video.
can test
So
it.
here's what we're gonna do. You guys send us a Facebook message or post it on the Facebook site where we post these videos. Tell us what is your record? I guess you're sliding this
Yep,
across
sliding
the
it, shooting
table,
it down the table.
and getting it in the little slot there on the front of the bottle. And whoever wins, if it is legal for me to send you a bottle of the Blue Label weeded bourbon, I will buy you one and send it to you. So all you gotta do is post it.
I got to start practicing.
Do you have a video of that?
Couple drinks first. We didn't have a video.
It didn't have
Yes,
to.
we did have a video.
Oh,
I was at a bar. We had a lot of people. There was a tape measure there. It's all
okay.
legit.
All
It's all
right.
legit.
10 feet.
Michigan.
Yeah.
It was at Charlie's Still on Main in Michigan.
Okay.
Nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Hey, hit that thumbs up button, like us. So with that being said, please drink responsibly.